So, joining me now from Houston, a face we know well from previous partisan blow-ups. He was right in the thick of things in many of these and was such a ferocious fighter. His own Republicans called him the Hammer. Here he is, Tom DeLay. He was House Majority Leader back from 2003 to 2005, also served as Republican whip under Speaker Newt Gingrich. So, Congressman Tom DeLay, nice to see you. Welcome.
Thank you, Brooke. Thanks for having me.
We hear a lot of soul-searching from within your own party. We are seeing Republicans pointing fingers, Republicans licking wounds today. So let me just tick through, if I may, some of these quotes here. First up, this is from your old friend Grover Norquist speaking about Republican hardliners. This is what he said, quote, "They hurt the conservative movement, they hurt the country's economic situation, and they hurt the Republican Party." Next, this is Representative Thomas Massey, Kentucky. He says, in return for shutting the government and causing a near default, Republicans got a goose egg. Nothing. Senator Roy Blunt, Missouri, quote, "The only reason why the Democrats don't look terrible is we look even worse." And just one more, if I may. This is from Speaker John Boehner. "We fought the good fight. We just didn't win." So, Tom DeLay, did your party lose this one?
Well, they did lose, unfortunately. They put up a good fight. I appreciate everyone that voted against the deal yesterday and stood up and fought. Unfortunately, they didn't have enough votes to carry out the fight and win. They could have won if they had stopped the deal yesterday and kept the government closed and the looming debt ceiling. Unfortunately, they decided not to and decided to fight another day. I just hope the fight on the next time they fight in January or February is a true fight and one that they fight to win.
I want to talk strategy here, and if they want to continue with the same play with you in just a minute. That's interesting what you just said. But when you look at this, and I was on Capitol Hill yesterday and just looking at the Republicans and the Democrats, listen, both parties, they took a beating in the polls, but specifically Republicans have just hit an all-time low approval rating at 24%. This is a poll by NBC and the Wall Street Journal. So do you think it was the shutdown and this whole debt ceiling debacle, this fight that you know, is the reason for these numbers, or is it something else?
First of all, Brooke, most of these polls are run to push a media's narrative.
I have no narrative, sir. I'm just right in the middle, just asking the question.
I'm not attacking you, Brooke, but we saw how the media completely trashed the Ted Cruz and others trying to fight for what their people believe in. And these polls are static. They're not dynamic. In politics, when you're in a fight, people just don't like the fight, and so they're going to respond negatively. It's who wins and comes out of the fight that has long-lasting effects. And I got to tell you right now, out here in the real world, outside of New York and Washington, D.C., these people think Ted Cruz is a hero. They think that those Republicans in the House are heroes, and they think that Obama is destroying this country. And what they saw yesterday is more destruction of this country by Obama. He's going to add another $1 trillion to the debt. After he's already raised $6 trillion on the debt, and then lied to the American people this morning saying that his deficits are coming down faster than in history. His deficits are $1 trillion a year. We used to burn down the Capitol when the deficits were $250 billion.
I hear you on these numbers, and listen, I want to have hope that these bipartisan conferees can come together and come up with something. We remember, you know, what happened, you know, a number of years ago. But let me since you bring him up, hang on. Ted Cruz, will you humor me, Congressman? Because I would like to just run through a couple of names, and I want one-word answers. So let me just give you this first name. You brought him up, Ted Cruz.
I'm not going to give you one-word answers. That's not fair, and I'm not going to answer it that way.
You can elaborate.
Well, Ted Cruz is a leader. People in this country for years have been begging for leadership, and Ted Cruz filled the void of leadership, and he took on the Democrat Senate, and he took on the president, and he took on a bunch of Republican senators because he was fighting for what is good for this country.
Do you see him as the leader of the Republican Party right now, sir?
I think he's one of the major leaders of the Republican Party right now, and I definitely do.
What about President Obama? A couple of words for him.
Arrogant in chief. That his statement this morning was the height of arrogance and incompetent. The president is incompetent with Obamacare. He can't even roll out Obamacare. He's incompetent by enforcing on this country something that they don't want. He's incompetent in his foreign policy. He's just an incompetent president.
What would you give up, Tom DeLay, in this next fight here to try to reach some kind of, so we're not, governing by crisis, if you were in the thick of things?
Well, governing by crisis, that's not the right term.
It's a term I heard from a Republican congressman this week when I was in Washington, just quoting her.
Well, I don't agree with them. You fight for what you believe in, and you stand on principles. If that creates a crisis, so be it. You don't give in before you even get started, and when you get started, you stay strong. That's what Obama did. Obama said, I'm not going to negotiate. I want a clean CR and I want a clean debt ceiling, and I'll shut down the government to get it. And he stood strong, and he got it. And unfortunately, the American people got it too. They got the shaft.
What about, just quickly, the future of the Tea Party? Where do they stand next election?
I think you're going to see the future of the Tea Party in the upcoming fight that this agreement has set.
In 90 days.
The Tea Party, they're gearing up again, and they're going to come after him. That's what should happen. The Republicans should regroup and come out fighting and be on offense and not be on defense. They need to develop a game plan, getting ready for January and February's fight. And they need to take this out of the Beltway, and they need to go to the American people and convince the American people that if they'll stand up and shout out to the people that represent them, things will be different.
So even though you said at the top of this interview that they lost, you say, and I'm just using a football analogy, they should run the same play in 90 days.
No, I think they need to learn their lesson about what just went on for the last 2 weeks, gear up, do better, get a better game plan, and go on offense.
Okay. Congressman Tom DeLay, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for your perspective. Coming up,
my pleasure.
The call